When it comes to the new Disney era of Star Wars, it's fair to say that there exists a bit of a division in audience opinion. And what better example of this than Episode 8, The Last Jedi? A big bunch of fans did really enjoy this film, but at the same time there are also quite a few of those who didn't. More than usual, actually. See, with The Last Jedi, negativity was coming from two different directions. Those who disliked the Mouse House Machine version of Star Wars in general obviously disliked it. But then there was also a section of fans of The Force Awakens who felt a bit let down by The Last Jedi. This because in an effort to value theme over story and quote-unquote subvert expectations, The Last Jedi did end up tossing aside a lot of the things introduced and promised in The Force Awakens. But regardless of any personal opinions about Rian Johnson or Disney Star Wars overall, there is one indisputable consequence resulting from the drastic choices made in The Last Jedi. Star Wars Episode 9 Electric Boogaloo is one of the most difficult Hollywood movies to write in a very long time. Killing off the main big bad guy, killing off most of the good guys, killing off the legendary hero meant to help bring peace, freedom, justice and security to the galaxy, the list goes on. Because The Last Jedi revolves so heavily around the theme of killing off the past, this does bring up one essential dilemma for the future. What next? Where can JJ Abrams along with his new co-writer Chris Terrio go from here? Realistically, what can they do? Do they ignore what Rian Johnson did in his movie and instead just try to finish the story Abrams initially set up in The Force Awakens? Or do they play the limited cards they were dealt by Johnson and finish the story developed by The Last Jedi? How can they take these two very different films and give them an ending that will tie the trilogy together in a way that feels not only functional but also complete and united? And that is the main question for today's episode of Blueprint for Greatness. Let's look back at Star Wars Episode 7 and 8 and try to figure out the most important key storytelling aspects Episode 9 should and probably will have to successfully feature in order to work. Following the strict limitations brought up by The Last Jedi, what can Star Wars Episode 9 do to move past them and be great? There is a saying that time heals all wounds. Whether this is always true or not, that's beside the point. But at least in the case of Episode 9, it very much is true. And that is why I'm pretty sure that this last installment in the Disney sequel trilogy will utilize a time jump. In order to combat the limitations set by The Last Jedi, a certain group of unhappy Star Wars fans did come up with a solution. Remove that film from Star Wars canon. And to give these fans credit, it wouldn't not get the job done. But somehow I doubt that's gonna happen. Somehow I doubt Abrams is going to do that. But what he can do is make use of a proper time jump. Instead of beginning right after The Last Jedi, Episode 9 should and most likely will take place sometime later. Months, years, doesn't really matter, as long as there exists a clear gap of time. Because this gap of time is what will give Episode 9 the freedom to do what it wants to do. If Abrams wants to go with his own ideas, he can. If Abrams wants to continue Johnson's ideas, he can. And most importantly, this time jump will allow Episode 9 to skip right into the action. For example, one of the biggest limitations set by The Last Jedi is the fact that the good guy army has been wiped out pretty much entirely. I mean, you can basically fit everyone in one medium shot frame. Not much of an army compared to this. So, in order to get past this limitation, Episode 9 is going to have to spend time building up a new good guy army. Time that it simply does not have. Building things up from scratch is okay in the first movie of a trilogy, maybe even in the second movie, but in the third, no. In the third, final movie, things should already be in motion. Han Solo is already being rescued from Jabba, Luke is already a Jedi Knight, Yoda is already dying, Death Star 2.0 is already under construction. From the opening crawl on, everything is go, go, go. If Episode 9 wants to be great, it has to be in high gear from the very start. Big stakes, big choices, big payoffs. Don't get me wrong, the movie can be about the good guys building up an army to defeat the First Order, yes, but not from scratch. As in, the good guys should already have some kind of an army built up, and now they just need a few key people and their armies to join in the fight before time runs out. The movie shouldn't have to pick up speed, it should already have speed. Things should already be in motion. Episode 9 has to have the freedom to do what it wants, and it also has to be in high gear while doing it. And the only way to effectively accomplish this, aside from wiping The Last Jedi from canon, is with the proper use of a time jump. By killing off Supreme Leader Jon Snoke, The Last Jedi did in the process create a bit of a storytelling issue. The issue that this story no longer has a proper main villain. The movie tries to position Kylo Ren as the new Supreme Leader, but the thing is, I don't think that works. At least not with the version of Kylo Ren we currently have. Star Wars essentially has always been about two extremes, the light side and the dark side. The Empire, the First Order, they hurt, they kill, they blow up planets full of civilians, they are truly evil. In essence, they are the Nazis of space. I mean, even the word stormtrooper originates from the German army.
At this very moment, in a system far from here, the New Republic lies to the galaxy, while supporting the treachery of the loathsome resistance. All remaining systems will bow to the First Order, and will remember this as the last day of the Republic!
The reason why Snoke worked as the leader of the First Order is because he was truly evil, something which Kylo Ren at the moment isn't. We've seen Kylo Ren get beaten in The Force Awakens. We've seen Kylo Ren get humanized in The Last Jedi. And while a humanized, conflicted main villain might work in another film, in a Star Wars trilogy movie it just doesn't. Because as I said, in order to function properly, a truly evil army needs a truly evil leader. Unless, of course, you for example think that the Second World War would have turned out the exact same way if Nazis were led by Mr. Rogers instead of that other guy. So, Episode 9 will have to find a way to get past this missing main villain issue, and there's a couple different routes it can take to do it. The first easy route is to just replace Snoke with someone else like him, some evil character below or above Snoke who now steps in to take over. Essentially, he'd be just another version of Snoke and serves the exact same purpose. He's evil, he functions like Palpatine, done. It's a bit cheap and disrespectful toward The Last Jedi, but it would do the job. The second, more interesting route is to take Kylo Ren and evolve him to fit the role of the First Order Supreme Leader. All the conflict and human aspects we've seen in him before, strip all of that away and dehumanize him completely. Coupled with the time jump we already talked about, it could work. In Episode 9, maybe what happened with Rey and Luke has driven Kylo Ren mad, and now he's spreading death and destruction across the galaxy as he obsessively tries to find Rey and what remains of the Resistance. Make him scary, make him ruthless, make him unhinged, make him wear a mask again and show his face as little as possible. Do whatever you can to dehumanize him and make him a real bad guy. Then, and only then, can he properly function as the new Supreme Leader. But whoever the main leader villain of Episode 9 ends up being, it has to be someone truly evil. No truly evil leader, no truly evil empire. No truly evil empire, no Star Wars trilogy. Another core problem with The Last Jedi many fans had was the trio of new characters. Rose Tico, Admiral Holdo, Benicio del Toro, they just didn't have the impact audiences maybe had hoped for. And I'm pretty sure even Disney did realize that as the movie was nearing its release. At least based on the fact that they were left out of the main trailers completely. There's nothing about them in the teaser, there's nothing about them in the full-length trailer. Not a single glimpse. And that kind of perfectly sums up the point I'm trying to make here. The trio of new Star Wars characters we mainly want to follow, we already got them in The Force Awakens, with Finn, Poe, and Rey. True, not everyone enjoyed how these new Star Wars leads turned out, but a big part of audiences really did. And that's one of the reasons why a big part of audiences couldn't enjoy The Last Jedi as much as they did The Force Awakens. Because in order to make room for the new Star Wars protagonists, the older new ones had to be cut back, Rey being the only exception. And I believe that was a mistake.
Poe, get your head out of your cockpit. There are things that you cannot solve by jumping in an X-Wing and blowing something up.
How do we blow it up? There's always a way to do that.
Han's right. You're demoted.
Whoa, wait, we... 'Cause 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 'cause
you're demoted.
Episode 9 will add in new characters. Episode 9 will apparently also bring back Rose Tico, and that's fine. Star Wars is a massive universe, so of course adding in fresh new faces is more than required. But at the same time, it is important not to get lost in these said fresh new faces. The main focus should always stay with our 3 main protagonists. Not necessarily because everyone loves them, but because they are the ones we started this journey with. Because we did start this new Star Wars trilogy journey with Finn, Poe and Rey, it should also end with Finn, Poe and Rey. You can bring in new faces, you can bring back Rose Tico and maybe create some interesting conflict between her and Rey with Finn. Just remember to keep your main focus where it should be. Let Ace Pilot Poe be an Ace Pilot. Let Finn go on a mission that actually affects the plot. Let Rey be the illegitimate daughter of Yoda and Padme. Do all of that and Episode 9, at least when it comes to its characters, will work out just magnificently.
I love you!
Liar!
No!
Yes! You're with him! You brought him here to kill me!
No!
Speaking of Rey being the illegitimate daughter of Yoda and Padme, it's no secret that a lot of the questions and mysteries set up in The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi very bluntly ignores. And by ignores, I mean throws out the window. Who exactly is Snoke? Doesn't matter. Why did Rey have those visions earlier? Doesn't matter. What happened to the Knights of Ren? Knights of who? If you wonder where The Last Jedi's sudden disinterest in mystery comes from, look no further than the 2 filmmakers behind these 2 movies. The fact is that they are very, very different as writers, as directors. JJ Abrams very much has always been a mainstream Hollywood storyteller, with an almost frightening fixation on mystery boxes. The most extreme example of this being the TV series Lost and its storytelling mentality of let's set that thing up now and figure out an explanation for it later. Rian Johnson, on the other hand, comes from a more of an indie scene, where the theme of a story plays a much bigger role than setting up an unanswered question for next week's TV season finale. While I do believe that a filmmaker always has the right to make the kind of movie they feel passionate about, at the same time I can understand the audience's side in this situation too. It can be really frustrating for the audience to spend time on a mystery-filled plotline and then ultimately have that plotline lead absolutely nowhere, which was the case in The Last Jedi with maybe a few plotlines too many. Even with the mystery of Rey's parents. After all the setup and wink-wink hinting in The Force Awakens, what was the big final climax The Last Jedi gave this plotline? Kylo Ren simply says to Rey that her parents are nobodies, and then she's like, yeah, you're right. In case Episode 9 doesn't want to stumble down the same pitfall as The Last Jedi, it will have to give the audience some sense of satisfying payoff on things set up before. I'm not saying Abrams should disregard all of Johnson's decisions, I'm just saying that in order to please the audience, he should bring back some of the unfinished storylines. But most importantly, whatever mysteries Episode 9 does end up answering, it has to do it in a way that feels convincing. If Abrams wants to keep Johnson's decision and have Rey's parents be nobodies, he's gonna have to establish that decision in a bit more efficient way. AKA in a way that isn't just 2 characters coming to an agreement on something without any visual proof that the audience can see. Make it convincing, make it satisfying. And with this final piece of the puzzle, our blueprint is done. Give your audience convincing, satisfying answers. Give them the heroes they started this journey with, give them a truly evil villain to fear and root against. And make all of that function properly by utilizing a well-placed time jump. That's how you can begin to make Star Wars Episode 9 work. That's how you can begin to make Star Wars Episode 9 great. Considering this video is about Disney, Star Wars and The Last Jedi, I'm pretty sure some of you have some opinions to share, and feel free to do so. But more importantly, tell me what you're thinking about Episode 9. What other storytelling aspects would you add to our blueprint? What does Episode 9 have to do in your eyes in order to be great? Let me know. Check out my earlier Blueprint for Greatness video about Pirates of the Caribbean 6, and with that, see you around, kid.